Tell me something.
He threw me on the bed, and I was screaming my brains out. He started kissing me. My hand hit a nail. He locked me in that little cubby hole.
The police searched everywhere, every street, every home, every abandoned building. But the one place they never thought to look was beneath their feet, deep underground. In a tiny hidden cell, Katie Beers was fighting to stay alive. This is the horrifying story of the girl in the wall, the disturbing case of Katie Beers. 9-year-old Katie had already survived years of abuse, but nothing could have prepared her for what came next. Kidnapped and locked away in a specially built prison, she was left with no light, no space, and no way to escape. The case shocked the nation, not just because of the crime itself, but because of the horrifying truth about the people in her life. Keep watching until the end to hear her incredible story and what happened to her captor. Trapped in a nightmare, no way out. Katie Beers was trapped in a place no child should ever be. The small, coffin-like chamber beneath John Esposito's garage was meant to be her prison. It was dark, cold, and nearly impossible to move inside. She had no idea how long she had been there, but every second felt like an eternity. In the beginning, she refused to accept her fate. She kicked at the walls with all the strength she had. She used her hands to push and claw at anything she could reach. She did not care if her fingers bled. She had to get out. After what felt like forever, she finally managed to break a small section of the structure. For a brief moment, hope rushed through her. Maybe she could get out. Maybe she would see her family again. But as she pushed against the opening, reality hit her like a brick wall. There was nowhere to go. The space beyond was just more concrete, more barriers keeping her underground. It was a cruel trick, like dangling freedom just out of reach. At that moment, the true horror set in. She was not just stuck in a small space. She was buried alive, completely at the mercy of a man who had no intention of letting her go. The man she trusted became a monster. John Esposito was not a stranger to Katie. He was someone she had known for years, a man she believed was a friend of the family. He had always been around, taking her places, buying her gifts, and acting like he cared. But everything changed the moment he locked her in that underground cell. She quickly realized this was not just a kidnapping. Esposito had taken her for a much darker reason. She had no way to defend herself. She was a child, alone and helpless against a grown man who had spent years planning this moment. When he discovered that she had tried to break free, his reaction was terrifying. The little bit of hope she had felt was immediately crushed. He was furious. That was the moment everything became even worse for her. Out of respect for Katie, there is no need to describe what happened in detail. But the truth is, no child should ever experience the horror she endured. She was trapped with a man who saw her as nothing more than something he could control. He made it clear that no one was coming for her, that no one cared enough to look. He wanted her to believe that she was completely alone. But Katie was stronger than he realized. Even in the darkest moments, she refused to let him break her spirit. A small glimmer of hope in the darkness. Days passed, and Katie's world remained the same. A dark, suffocating box with no escape. She was cut off from the outside world, completely at Esposito's mercy. But then, something unexpected happened. He let her watch television. He probably thought it would be a distraction, something to keep her from fighting back. But what he did not realize was that it gave her something much more important. Information. As she sat in that underground prison, she saw news reports about her own disappearance. She watched as reporters talked about the search efforts, as police officers gave updates. But the moment that stood out the most was when she saw her mother on screen, begging for her safe return. Her mother was crying, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. Katie had never seen her mother like that before. It was a strange feeling. She had spent so much of her life feeling unwanted, feeling like no one truly cared. But here was her mother, on national television, desperate to have her back. At the same time, she could not ignore her anger. Some of the people now pretending to care had ignored the abuse she suffered for years. They had looked the other way when she needed help the most. But despite all that, seeing the world searching for her gave her something she had not felt since she was taken. Everyone was a suspect, and no one could be trusted. As news of Katie Beer's disappearance spread, the police launched a massive investigation. But from the very beginning, something did not sit right. This was not a typical missing child case. Too many things felt off. And because of that, detectives started looking closely at the people closest to Katie. One of the first suspects was Sal Hillary, Katie's godmother's husband. It was not just a random guess. Sal had a history, and it was a disturbing one. He had already been accused of abusing Katie before she vanished. He was the last person anyone would trust with a child. So naturally, investigators believed he could have played a role in her disappearance. But he was not the only one under the microscope. Suspicion even fell on Katie's own family. Could her mother have been involved? Maybe her brother. Some investigators wondered if this was not a simple kidnapping, but rather a setup to frame someone else. The problem was, as much as the police tried to connect the dots, nothing fit perfectly. Every person they looked at had an alibi. Every theory seemed to fall apart. And while they were busy trying to make sense of the situation, the real monster was sitting in plain sight. Meanwhile, Katie remained trapped underground, listening to the sounds above her. She had no idea that people were pointing fingers in the wrong direction. And the longer it took for police to find the truth, the more convinced she became that no one was coming to save her. The shadow that followed him everywhere. John Esposito played the role of a concerned friend flawlessly. He acted heartbroken over Katie Beer's disappearance, offering to assist in any way he could. He even allowed police to search his property, knowing they would not find anything, at least not yet. But the way he inserted himself into the investigation raised suspicions. He was too involved, too eager to stay close to the case. Detectives soon dug into his past, and what they uncovered was chilling. Esposito had a disturbing history with children. Years earlier, he had attempted to abduct a 7-year-old. He had even tried joining the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, a mentorship organization for children, but was rejected due to concerns about his background. It was now clear that he had been trying to get close to vulnerable kids for years. As media pressure mounted and detectives monitored his every move, Esposito began unraveling. He knew time was running out. What he did not know was that investigators were already piecing together the truth. And all the while, Katie was still right there, hidden beneath his garage, locked away in a chamber he had spent years preparing for her. The twisted mind behind the evil plan. John Esposito had been planning this for years. While Katie was still a small child, playing inside his home, he was digging the underground chamber where he would one day imprison her. Every secret latch, every hidden passage, every reinforced wall was designed to ensure no one would ever find her. As detectives closed in, Esposito became desperate. He tried manipulating Katie into helping him. He told her that if she faked her own death, the police would stop searching. He wanted her to record a message, making it seem like she was gone forever, so he could keep her in his twisted world without interference. But Katie refused to be controlled. She pretended to go along with his plan, but in reality, she was looking for any opportunity to turn the situation in her favor. She would not let him win. Meanwhile, law enforcement pressure became unbearable. Esposito finally broke. He confessed to his lawyer and admitted he knew exactly where Katie was. She is behind the wall. With those words, police rushed to his home. He led them step by step through the elaborate process of opening the hidden dungeon. Officers pried open the entrance, not knowing what they would find. Then, after 17 days in captivity, they saw her, Katie, alive. She was finally free. Her rescue did not just end Esposito's reign of terror, It also exposed years of abuse she had suffered at the hands of others. Investigators reopened the case against Sal Inghilleri, the man who had abused Katie before her kidnapping. On August 9, 1994, Inghilleri was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison for molesting her. Justice had finally caught up with him, and he would never harm anyone again. He died behind bars on February 21, 2009. The most chilling part of this case is how carefully it was planned. Katie Beers was not just taken, she was trapped in a prison designed just for her. If you found this story as shocking as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more true crime cases.